Before we dive into today's show, I am asking for your guys' help. We are in a sub battle with our Lions Talk channel here at Chat Sports. And if you guys want to help me out and help the Vikings get a victory this Sunday, taking on that NFC North opponent, hit that subscribe button. I'm not saying we can catch them before Sunday, but let's close that gap a little bit. Hit that subscribe button and lock us in. What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Vikings Now. My name is Patrick Siepman, and we have a loaded show for you guys coming up just around the corner. We're going to be looking at the updated Vikings playoff picture, describing to you guys everything you need to know, every chances, every scenario around the Vikings taking on the Lions this weekend. And then also, Ndamukong Suh is a free agent. I've heard a lot of Vikings fans talking about should they sign him, so I'll give you guys my thoughts on that. Then also, an elite pass rusher, or I guess former elite pass rusher, was just cut by the respective team yesterday now. So we're going to be discussing should the Vikings try to get some Danielle Hunter, some help on the outside. But welcome in. We got a loaded show for you guys today. I am self-producing this show, so if a little slower going graphic to graphic, just that is the reason why. But let's look at the NFC playoff picture as where it stands right now. Obviously, we got the number one seed, the San Francisco 49ers. I do fully expect the NFC to be ran through San Francisco, as you know, I think they're the best team in the NFC, and I don't think they're going to lose another game this season. Right now, it's got the Cowboys in the 2 spot, the Lions, who we take on this Sunday, at the 3 spot. The Buccaneers and Saints are tied at 7-7, but you know, I do expect the NFC South to only get one team in at that 4 seed. Then the Eagles right now, the top wildcard team, at the 5th spot. But now this is where the Vikings are. The Vikings are still holding down that 7 seed, tied with the Rams, the Saints, and the Seahawks. So it's going to be 4 teams battling for those last 2 spots. And I do understand the Vikings have a tough schedule, but according to the New York Times, they still have a 55% chance to make the playoffs right now. And I know you might be saying, well, it's just a coin flip. Obviously I'll take those chances. But if the Vikings were to beat the Lions this weekend, it would get them all the way up to a 78% chance. So I can't kind of understate or undervalue how big of a game this is. It's going to have a playoff feel to it. And also, the Vikings, I understand they have a 4% chance right now to win the NFC North. But if you beat the Lions this weekend, they got to go to Dallas the weekend after. You put a lot of pressure on that Detroit football team. So this weekend is going to be one of the biggest Vikings games of the season, if not the biggest. And if they get a win, they'll be up to a 78% chance to make the playoffs. Now, let's just say you're just like, hey, Patrick, there is no way the Vikings can beat the Lions even once. Well, let's just say the Vikings lose to the Lions twice, but they beat the Green Bay Packers. They still have a 59% chance to make the playoffs. Obviously, the Packers are that team fighting with the Vikes for that last wild card spot. So that New Year's Eve game, Sunday Night Football, Vikings-Packers, that's as big as a game as we will have the rest of the NFL season. The Vikings, these last 3 games are going to be a whole lot, or just very, very entertaining. But let's just say the Vikings win 2 or 3, whether it's beating the Lions twice, beating the Packers twice, or however it may be, they will have a 99% chance to make the playoffs. So the Vikings do control their own destiny. You beat the Lions twice, or whatever it may be, but if you win 2 of your last 3 games, you have a very, very, very good chance to make the playoffs. And then also this, guys, if the Vikings win out and the Lions lose out, the Vikings will be NFC North champions. I know you're saying, oh, there's no way. There is no chance that will ever happen for this football team. Listen, the Lions game in between the Vikings is the Dallas Cowboys. They're a hungry football team, especially after getting their ass kicked against the Buffalo Bills. And the Cowboys actually have to go to Miami this upcoming weekend, so they could be coming off 2 losses, playing that Lions team. All I'm saying is maybe the last week of the season, you handle business this weekend. You go be a kind of sliding Packers team, and you just hope the Lions lose to the Cowboys in our next week. That last week of the season could be for a home playoff game. I just can't wait for the rest of this year. But I'll kick it to you guys right now. What % chance do you give the Vikings to make the playoffs? I'm going to make this the pinned comment on today's video. So if YouTube throws an ad break your way, just sit back, scroll down, let it play, and answer what chance do you give the Vikings to make the playoffs. I'll go 65%. I think the Vikings are going to handle biz. I think it's going to be on the back of Brian Flores. But if the Vikings did want to get Brian Flores and that defense some more help, a guy like Ndamukong Suh could be a huge addition. It was kind of weird I was just looking at, other free agents that are available, and I was kind of shocked that Suh was still on the market. And this is what he did last year with the Eagles when he was signed about halfway through the year. He played in 8 games for him. He had 1 sack. He had 10 tackles, 2 QB hits. And I was talking to my man Chase Senior, who covers the Eagles here, and he was just saying, he was all right. He was a really good, rotational piece on that D-line. But he's got, obviously, now that Super Bowl run experience dating back to even with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And, he just plays with some sort of, swagger and intensity that I think the Vikings, especially up front, I actually wouldn't hate it. Like Ndamukong Suh, he could be that great run stuffer. He can take on multiple blocks, open up lanes for Ivan Pace, Jordan Hicks, whoever it may be at that linebacker position. But, Ndamukong Suh, I've always been a big fan of his game, and he just plays with such tenacity on the football field. He just brings a swagger to a defense that I really, really like. But latest on Suh, what has he been doing lately? Like I said, last year, he played 8 games with the Eagles. He has taken Super Bowl trips with the Rams, Buccaneers, and Philly, so he's definitely got experience there in terms of just going on a long playoff run. He's got 71.5 sacks in almost 200 games, so he's been able to create pressure from the interior. Listen, he's not the guy that he used to be, no doubt. This is not the guy we even saw in Detroit, dominating the Vikings, but I do believe he can be a good rotational piece, especially, besides Harrison Phillips. I don't really love the Vikings defensive line unit right now. Would Suh want to come to Minnesota? Probably not. If Suh's going to sign anywhere, I do fully expect it to, be with a true contender. But you never know. What if the Vikings say, well, hey, we'll offer you $5 million for the rest of this year. Come play, help us go on this little playoff run, and maybe you can make him the argument that NFC is wide open. Anyone can make a run. You go help out this defense and have this defense be the storyline on why the Vikings can potentially win a playoff game. Signing Ndamukong Suh, I actually wouldn't hate it ever. Or hate it whatever. Now, coming up here in a second, we're going to be talking about the Vikings signing this pass rusher, and you guys won't want to miss it. But first, I do want to give a huge shout out to today's sponsor, and that is Prize Picks. If you guys go to prizepicks.com/CLNS, if you guys use code CLNS at prizepicks.com/CLNS, you're going to get a first deposit match up to $100. Maybe asking yourself, well, what really is Prize Picks? Well, it's daily fantasy made easy. And how do you play? You pick 2 or more players. You're going to choose more or less on their projected stat types, and you guys can start seeing the cash roll in. Today, rapper Meek Mill uses it all the time. He loves it. Even in these boring primetime games in the NFL, like you create a lineup, and they just are always so much more entertaining. I love using Prize Picks. I use it almost for every game I watch, and I guarantee you, once you guys use it one time, you guys will not stop. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. That link for that will be in the comments section and the description of today's show. Now, the surprise elite pass rusher I've been kind of teasing throughout the video, it is actually Justin Houston, who was absolutely dominant for the Baltimore Ravens a couple years ago. But the Panthers actually yesterday did decide to cut Justin Houston, and Justin Houston actually came out and said that he wants to go and sign for a contender. Now, is the Vikings, are they up there with that contender status? Probably not, but you never know if they want to add, some more depth to that edge spot next to Danielle Hunter, because, he definitely needs some help there. But Field Yates tweeted this out. He said, any team that wants to acquire Justin Houston on waivers would owe him just $194K for the rest of the season, as his deal with Carolina was a minimum salary of $4.835 million signing bonus. Well, he's had just half a sack this year. It's a minimal opportunity cost for a team. And I agree. Listen, it's obviously not going to cost you anything to bring on Houston, but what does Houston necessarily have left in the tank? I think that is the next question, because, hey, I'll tell you what, in 2022, he had 9.5 sacks. He's still going to be able to get to the quarterback. This is a guy where you'd only, put him in on key third downs, just pray he would, make a play for you, or just kind of, be that guy. I always feel like this when teams go on these long playoff runs. You're always like, there always be like a big sack on a second down or a third down. And you're like, man, where did that guy come from? When did Justin Houston sign, with the Minnesota Vikings? And he ends up making a play. I feel like he will be that guy this year where he'll go to a contender, and in the playoffs, in a big divisional, big championship card game, like, I think he will be able to make plays as just a rotational guy. He's not going to game wreck games, but key plays here and there, I do believe Justin Houston still has a lot left in the tank. But my overall take with this is, personally for the Vikings, I don't really think it would be worth it to sign Justin Houston. I actually like what the Vikings have at that edge spot. Obviously, we know we have top dog in Danielle Hunter. He's second in the league in sacks. He's top 5 in TFLs, and he's just been, absolutely fantastic this year. But I would want them to still develop guys like DJ Wanham. Patrick Jones, I think, has had a really good year as well. So, listen, Justin Houston, tremendous football player. And maybe if the Vikings were closer to that Super Bowl kind of contender status, and if we were in the position of like the Eagles or the Cowboys, I would be all in on signing Houston. But as it stands right now, I would probably be out. But I want to wrap the show up with this. If you had to pick one to sign, just one of these two defensive players, Ndamukong Suh, Justin Houston, let me know which one you would sign. Give me an NS for Ndamukong Suh, or give me a JH for Justin Houston. Thank you guys so much for watching today's edition of Vikings Now. Can't wait for this Lions game this Sunday on Christmas Eve. We're going to be going live an hour before kickoff, so at 11 p.m. Central Standard Time. Just can't wait for it. So make sure you guys do tune in. Our live shows are a ton of fun. Our watch parties are obviously a blast. So make sure you guys tune in, and we will see you guys next time. As always, go Vikes.